Okay, by my watch, it's 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Would you all please join me in standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pat, would you do the roll call, please?
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Floral?
Here.
Mr. Hardeman?
Here.
Mr. Horn?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Storr?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have 7 board members present, therefore we do have a quorum.
Okay. I'd like to see a motion for the approval of the minutes from the prior board meeting of May 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mayor Foster, good morning.
How are you all today?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. I tell you what, missed a couple of meetings and you get pulled right off the agenda, don't you? Tough crowd around here. I'll tell you, it's a tough crowd. I see how it is. It's been a few months. Thanks for giving me just a minute. A couple of quick updates. The county is working on the budget. It's almost done. Spent all day yesterday with spreadsheets trying to calculate what the value of a tax penny is. We think we've got that down, and definitely do not see a need for any type of tax increase with a good conservative budget. The courthouse repair team is well underway. At this point, it looks like everything's slightly ahead of schedule, and the renovation team will hopefully be in sometime late this year. That does mean we've had some office moves. How it affects you. The Veterans Services offices are now across Main Street in Milo. That's where you would go in and pay your taxes or talk to the property assessor. So if you go in there, it's the far back right corner. They will be there until we have everything done to move them back across. And now our finance department is down on the bottom floor, which you probably won't have to deal with, but got a lot of traffic for the VSO. Archives are going well underway as well. The pad and the walls are mostly poured. Interior work continues. A little update on the codes department. You know, we started that in January. It seems to be going well. Our director is certified. He did that in record time, and the inspector he may be by now, it's very close. But in May, there were 34 building permits issued. 9 were mechanical, 14 plumbing, and an unheated basement. And so it's still busy in the county. Last thing I want to say is thank you. So many people reached out during my recent loss. And here in Fairfield, it was amazing. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. I've made a lot of friends out here over the years, and y'all really came through, so thank you for that. And with that, I will say, if you have any questions, here I am. Yes, ma'am.
I have noticed recently the Beanpot big property there and the house as you go on, both of them do not have for sale signs anymore. Who has bought it?
I don't think it's been purchased yet. I know that I actually talked to someone about that just the other day. I don't believe it's been purchased yet.
I thought I saw a surveyor's there too.
Yeah,
so.
they're well, unless it's happened very recently, I haven't heard. So
Let us know when you're here.
yeah, yeah. Anybody else? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Don't worry, we'll have you on top billing again next month. Okay. This is the across the board. Chief Financial Officer candidate update. Our new financial officer has joined our team June 24th. During the general manager's report, we will give Keith the chance to introduce himself to the community. Please take the opportunity to welcome Keith to his new role in Fairfield Glade. Members of the Board of Directors, General Manager, and key staff hosted a presentation and Q&A session for local realtors on the recent update with Fairfield Glade transfer fees policies. In attendance were 69 realtors invited for the morning meeting at the center. Several attendees had questions related to the details of how the amenity reserve fee works and how those questions were answered, The well-attended session included much material from the May 21st Town Hall presentation and included an updated frequently asked questions, FAQ, which are posted for download on the member website. The budget process. The budget process for 2025 is planned to be underway by the last week in June. We intend to have all necessary parties engaged by mid-July to ensure that we can stay on our timeline. Operating budgets will go to the department heads at the end of July, and the department heads will have until the third week of August to complete both their payroll budgets and operating budgets. By the last week of August, these operating budgets will be reviewed by the general manager, CFO, and department heads to ensure that all are in alignment. During early September, senior managers will present their operating budget to the FAC, that's the Financial Advisory Committee, with the general manager and the CFO. By mid-September, the capital and operating budgets are planned to be completed. Strategic planning update. The Strategic Planning Committee, along with the senior management team and Greg Jones, recently participated in a working session to incorporate all views of the strategic opportunities. At the same time, the team is ensuring information collected during the first 3 quarters of 2023 are captured and incorporated into the organizational improvement plan with short-term improvement objectives. The SPC is putting together final edits to both the short-term and long-term initiatives with plans to present to the community in the next several weeks. Members who would like to share comments regarding the strategic planning initiative can reach out by sending email messages to the team at strategicplanning@fairfieldglade.cc. Information concerning the strategic planning team is also available on the Community Club website at www.fairfieldglade.cc. Board of Director election. There are 2 at-large board seats up for election this year. There are no incumbent candidates eligible to run for this election. Candidate profiles are posted on the member section of the Community Club website. Over the next several weeks, the papers will publish candidate answers to questions from the election committee. Please take some time and review the backgrounds of all 7 candidates on the website. The election committee will be hosting a Meet the Candidate night on July 25th, starting at 6:30 p.m. here at the center. Policy reviews. Policy nuisance and flag policies are currently under review for their relationship to Tennessee state statutes. Therefore, we are not contemplating any changes to these policies until we hear from our legal counsel. I will have more to say about the flag policy after I finish this report. The Druid Hills Golf Club project. The Golf Performance Center construction is progressing well with a target completion date in October. There have been some individuals touring the project. This is an active construction site, and it will be posted and designated as such. So for the safety of everyone, please do not enter the construction site. The Druid Hills Clubhouse and Site Concept Review held at the center on June 6th was well received. There were approximately 250 people in attendance, with many others viewing on the live stream. Numerous emails have been received since the presentation have been reviewed and discussed by the steering committee, with all comments being considered by the committee as we move forward. The next step is to approve a capital authorization request today, what we call a CAR. This CAR will include funding for the start of the design, detailed design and construction drawings, order the modular building which will house the pro shop during construction, and order a food truck which will serve as a snack bar and be available to service the new putting green or putting course as well. Members who would like to share additional comments regarding the Druid Hills Golf Club project can do so by sending an email to the steering committee at druidhillsprojects@fairfieldglade.cc. The Emergency Service Complex. AEI of Cookeville continues to work on the architectural design and engineering work for the Emergency Services Complex project. The site survey reports, including the topographical survey report, have been shared with AEI and are proceeding with soil samples in the area of the ESC, options to determine the feasibility of construction on the proposed site. The county is in the process of removing the crushed stone they stored on the site. The latest draft of the proposed architectural drawing and the preferred building orientation option have been reviewed by the board and was shared with the ESC Planning Group for their review on June 24th. Wildwood Stables update. The Wildwood Stables Committee met on June 7th at the library, Room A, to report on the activities of the working groups and to inform guests and committee members on action items. This chairperson addressed the 14 visitors in attendance in the open meeting. He informed all present that since the stables needs to be included in the 2025 budget, the committee needs to move up the time frame of their work to July. The interim subcommittee has been working on a recommendation to provide care for the existing boarded horses rather than to evict them. The committee will be preparing a recommendation for the board of directors to present at the July 27th board meeting. The next Wildwood Stables Committee meeting is posted on the club's website at www.fairfieldglade.cc. Upcoming fish fry. The next fish fry will be held Friday, July 12th from 3 to 6 p.m. at the St. George Marina Pavilion. The event is all you can eat. It includes fried cod, fried catfish, sauteed lemon pepper cod, sauteed Cajun cod, fried oysters, chicken tenders, cheese curds, French fries, pickle fries, pork rinds, and 3-bean salad and coleslaw. I also heard there will be a lawn fishing competition with a gift card as a prize. Come join the fun and, of course, the great food. Tickets are available at the Stonehenge Grill, Dartmoor Marina, and St. George Marinas, and they're $20 per adult and $10 per child. That is the June update from across the board. I'm going to get into the policy reviews that we've had. We actually have heard back from our counsel, Kenneth Chadwell, about that, and so we announced these decisions at the workshop yesterday, but since they're policy decisions, I wanted to make sure we did it both days. As it relates to the pet nuisance policy, what we find is that we're in concert and we're following state laws and statutes. So at this time, we are not going to change anything with the policy. Now, it was most unfortunate that the person had a situation with the dog where the dog appears to have attacked the individual. Those options are still available to be dealt with in a court of law. There's criminal activity statutes that address that. So we're not going to get in the middle of that, and actually those persons are taking the appropriate actions with counsel and that type of thing. So we're not going to get into the middle of those things. We're following state regulations and state law, and that's where we're going to stay. As far as the flag policy, we're in concert with state law and also with federal provisions. And the federal provisions really are the ones that we're following because they're embedded in the state law. So if you're interested in that, you can go to, well, I'll even give you the citation here, USC 5-10, and that is the citation that talks about how to display the flag. Now, I want to be clear about one thing, is that we've had some conversations about distress flags. That is not according to the policy in terms of what the federal regulations say. It's for distress, but it's for an individual that needs help. And our police look for those. So if they see the flag flying upside down, you may very well get a knock on the door and be asked, what's your problem? So don't get into the situation where police are stopping to ask you about something that has got nothing to do with what it's intended for. So I commend you to look at those policies that are embedded in the USC code, and they will help you a lot in terms of figuring out what you can and cannot do. The final thing is the sign policy. The sign policy, as some people pointed out, there's a new sign. There's Illinois. There's Tennessee statutes that have been passed. We are in concert with those. And people ask, well, what about my First Amendment rights that are embedded in that bill? There is an exception to that bill for any policy that was written before July 1st, 2017. Our policy was written in 2015. Therefore, we are in compliance with the rules that we have about limiting signs and those kinds of political statements and that type of thing out on lawns and that. This board has no intention of changing that policy. Future boards, if they change it, then it'll be a different situation. But this board is staying with what we've got. So those are the updates on the policies. I would also ask one other thing. We did have the meeting, as I pointed out across the board, with the realtors about the amenity reserve fee. There are a lot of questions that people have about that. If you go to the member website, I think there's 40-some questions that we've not only written the answers to, but are out there, and it will give you a lot more information about how that fee works. And there are exceptions to that fee, and many people sitting in this room, if you're a member, you will have those exceptions. So I would ask you to go in, read that. If you still have questions, please get a hold of us. We'll answer your questions, but make sure that you do read those frequently asked questions. Okay. With that, Treasurer's report.
Good morning, everyone. Your handout has the Treasurer's report with the numbers, and I'm going to give you some context with those numbers. The narrative behind some of this. As of May 31st this year, Club experienced a decrease in activity over the budgeted amount in the golf department. The club experienced a loss of about 4,000 rounds, and this was due to an additional 8 inches of rain compared to over the prior year. The cost of sales is trending a little higher than budgeted against the prior year, but within the area of expectations as freight charges increase the cost of sales somewhat. For the marinas, current year revenues are down by 12% to the budget and 8.9% to prior year actuals. Again, this is May was a slower month, earlier part of the season, and a lot of folks don't like to be out on their boats in the rain. Some of the fishermen do, but that's a different story. So of course there was lower pontoon and equipment rentals. We do expect to meet revenue goals this year. Things are picking up significantly. But our overall negative variance to budget is $13.1K, $13,100. Racket sports department is seeing an increase in revenues driven by pickleball. Again, racket sports is doing well. Their year-over-year revenue from pickleball has increased 29% over 2023 and 59% better than the budget year-to-date amount, so well ahead of budget. Food and beverage, not so happy. They have not met budget expectations, with revenues down 24% in the snack bars and 21% overall. The covers have decreased from 46,616 to 41,902 at Stonehenge. The cost of sales has increased from the prior year of 44% compared to 41%. However, the budgeted amount was 35%. So as activity continues to grow, the average for the year should come more in line with expectations, and we're having conversations with that, serious conversations in the near future. The Property Owners Association, the POA, is doing very well with $143,287 favorable variance to budget, with community maintenance leading the way. Thanks. This is mainly due to the savings in 2 positions in community maintenance, which have now been filled. The sewer department is still experiencing a decrease in tap fees and is expected to grow as the season and homes come online. With that in mind, the sewer department is still operating with a surplus to budget, as the expenses for those sewer taps not being recognized until the work has begun. In terms of the balance sheet, overall, the club has a very strong cash position and is preparing for some large projects about to commence. And we talked about those at the town hall, and you saw the presentation for the Bruin project. And we have more projects coming up. And if there's any questions, you got a whole room full of people here that can answer them. And if we can't do it today, we'll get to you as soon as we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
General Manager's report. Bill.
Thank you, and good morning. Am I on? Can you hear me? Yes.
You just have to get those two.
Okay, just want to follow up on Greg's introduction of Keith Bucher as our new Chief Financial Officer. Keith, will you come forward and introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Keith Bucher, and I guess I should be honored that, I'm just a little joke here, that my name made it on the agenda, but the mayor's did not. Anyway, honored to be here. Just a little bit about my background. Grew up in Central Illinois, Peoria area. Went to college in Central Illinois as well. Started my career, have been in accounting for, I guess I'd say 35 plus years. During that time, I would say the last 15 has been at the CFO or executive level type of job. So not too exciting, but became a resident of Fairfield Glade back in February, actually, and was excited to become a resident here, and then accepted the role as CFO. So excited to start the job here as well. So looking forward to working with all the residents, looking forward to working with Bill and the board, just to make it a better community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. Obviously, Keith's coming on at a key time, as Greg was addressing earlier, as we are commencing the budget process, and we'll be working very closely together with the SMTs on that. The 2024 Tennessee Senior Open at Stonehenge was a tremendous success. Many thanks to Mary Jo Page, Jeff Houston, Jeremy Jones, and the entire golf operations team, Sean Van Hoos and the entire agronomy team, Dustin Maley and the food and beverage team, and finally Bobby Jones Links for their food donations to the tournament. Everyone went above and beyond to ensure the event was well received, as evident from the many compliments, emails, and letters received from the Tennessee PGA tournament organizers and leadership team, as well as the participants. We look forward to an even greater event for the upcoming Tennessee Women's Open in July, and encourage all of you to come out and support. As I requested upon my arrival, I asked that Bobby Jones Links begin providing us with a monthly financial summary of their operations. I received that for the May 2024 report from Mike Nolan, who is the Senior Vice President of Operations for Bobby Jones Links, and Dustin Maley, the Food and Beverage Director here. In summary, the year-to-date revenues are continuing to lag behind their budget projections, but are up $100,000 relative to 2023 sales. The cost of sales at Stonehenge continued to remain an issue. Bobby Jones Links is taking additional steps, as they outlined in their report, to investigate and hopefully rectify the issues going forward. Payroll is also high relative to budget. Their banquet and event revenue is an area of focus for generating additional revenue, which is being reflected in their focus on special events throughout the community going forward. With that in mind, they last week hosted a soft-shelled crab dinner. The event was a success. They had 39 reservations going in for the day of the event, but ended up serving over 70 guests with lots of compliments. We have posted for the project manager position. This is a new position for the community maintenance department. We have received approximately 19 resumes to date. This position will be managing capital projects as well as maintenance projects going forward, and we'll work in concert with the major capital planning committee as we move forward on a lot of these important projects that have been obviously Druid, and then a lot of other things that are called for in the reserve study and moving forward with the capital plan. I'm continuing to work on the organizational chart revisions in order to establish a more efficient reporting structure and to provide growth opportunities for select staff. I've also finalizing the code of conduct policy that I had previously addressed, and that will be ready for presentation to the board at the July work session. That concludes my update. Any questions?
Okay. Barb.
Good morning. Wyndham timeshare revenues are as follows. The center, $68,527, which is 28% of like revenue. Racket sports, $6,535, 4%. Dartmoor Marina, $16,583, which is 21%. St. George Marina, $5,021, which is 8%. Golf, $203,251, which is 8%. Food, $125,782, which is 12%, for a total of $420,698, an average of 10%. As far as Wyndham timeshare visitors for the month, 4,212, and a year-to-date total of Wyndham visitors of 21,006. Thank you very much.
All right. We have some unfinished business. Sam, you here? You want to talk about the tree policy?
Not really.
Just
I didn't see my name on the agenda, so it was.
Well, you can join Mayor Foster.
I'll sit next to the mayor and I'll.
See, you're not the only one.
The Architectural Controls Committee submitted a tree policy several months ago. We got approximately 70 comments back. They went back and they revisited the policy. They chose not to put it forward. They've done a lot of work additionally on that policy, and we're putting it forward today. It'll be posted on the website. It's a, we feel it's a good middle ground. We addressed the major comments that were pushed back to the ACC on that. So we're going to go ahead and post it today if the board approves it. Disregard, do not use that word approve, okay? I don't want to panic anybody. If the board allows it to be posted, it'll be posted for comments. Those comments will be collected and submitted to the board and the ACC, and based on that, at the next meeting, we'll decide what our next course of action is. So you'll see that on, and you are welcome to make any comments you like on that policy.
Okay.
Is there any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Keith Robinson, 118 Morris Lane. I'm also a freelance writer for the Glade Sun. Sam, I was wondering if you could give us just a rundown of the differences between this new revised policy and the original revised policy that was withdrawn. Just a little summary of it. Thank you.
The policy that'll be posted today has a cover sheet on it which highlights the changes within that policy, followed by, it'll be posted in color, and anything that's red has been added. There's lineouts in it. It's very clear. Now, the comments that we received from the other policy talked about trees in the certain zones. It talked about the number of trees. There's two schools of thought here. Don't cut any trees, cut every tree. There's people here that are on both sides of that fence. They tried to come up with a meeting in the middle, but it'll be a summary sheet posted with it. The differences between the prior policy and that was posted and the new policy that were posted are those are the major ones that I covered.
If you look at the policy, as the board did yesterday and for the last week when we got our packages, there's a lot of red up there. So rather than try to summarize that in 2 sentences, Keith, it would be very hard to do that. I would commend everyone who's interested in that policy, look at the policy. There is, like Sam said, a cover sheet that outlines some of the big changes. But I don't know, and Sam can't predict either, what each individual may be looking for in that policy. So I would really suggest that you go in and really read it, because it's the context of the whole policy, not just 1 or 2 points. Okay?
And submit your comments. Feel free to submit your comments, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. This is how we get better.
Okay.
Any other questions?
With that in mind, entertain a motion from the board to allow us to post that policy for comment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so it'll be posted, it'll be out there, and please get your comments in. The posting of the revised exterior home amenities policy for review. That's another policy that we want to put up and get comments from. So with that in mind, can I have a motion to post that policy for comment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so you got 2 policies that you could be looking at up there, and please take the time to read them, understand them, and please make your comments. All right. The
Yes.
environmental committee appointments.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the 2 community club members that have been recommended for appointment to the environmental committee.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'm going to remind everyone, we don't announce the names here. Again, I know this sounds a little kludgy, but we don't want them to hear about it from the board or this meeting. They should be contacted by the committee chair, and this action will allow the committee chair to go tell those 2 individuals who they are. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, we're going to get into capital authorization request. Just for those of you that were at the workshop yesterday, there was 1 car that was pulled by the board because we need a lot more discussion on it. So the one on the work management system is not going to be as part of the conversation today because we still have some more questions about it. We need to get into that a little bit more. So with that in mind, the first one.
Yes. I make a motion that the 3rd and 4th quarter reserve study capital funds of $174,500 be released.
I will second that.
The thing here is that this is O&M, operations and maintenance. It's not really capital.
This is capital.
Right.
No, this one's capital.
Oh,
This
this
one
is
is
the capital
capital.
one. I'm sorry. I'm off on the wrong one.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is the capital one. Thank you. All right. Any conversation? This is also what we promised we would do, that we would bring in all of the cars that had to do with the reserve study. So you're seeing those as well. Okay. Without further conversation, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. St. George Drive, Tawny Oak, Keith?
Morning, everyone. I got a CAR for St. George Drive and Tawny Oak Loop sewer extension, $42,000. That's it. Any questions?
Short and sweet.
Short and to the point. All right, is there a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve $42,000 for the St. George Tawny Oak Loop extension.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Druid Hills Clubhouse. Dave, there he is.
Well, Greg has already told you what this one's all about. So these are the next steps for our Druid project. So the CAR has 3 components. The first is engaging Esbic Jones to continue the work that he did with the concept drawings to do design development and construction documents. So that's first phase, or first segment of this. The second is to get a modular unit to get the pro shop moved out of the existing clubhouse. can't tear it down till that's accomplished. Also, part of this is we're going to be moving central tea times to the multi-purpose building, room C. So that's a part of this. And then the third part is a food truck that will serve as the snack bar while we're demolishing and constructing the new clubhouse. And then will be available for use for all other events or any events within Fairfield Glade. For example, the Grove, pickleball tournaments. You know, we see a great use for this for the future. So the total of this CAR is $780,000.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve $780,000 to continue the Druid Hills project.
I second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Greg, I'll make one more comment. That $780,000 is part of the $16 million that we have talked about previously for that project, just so everybody knows. And at next month's board meeting, I will be going through the breakdown of that $16 million and the schedule, proposed schedule that we have. But I'll remind you all that when I do it, and I'll remind you again next month, it's where we are today and it's what we're proposing, and we'll keep you updated. But I will go through those details next month at the workshop.
Okay. All right. Now,
I make a motion to release the funds from the reserve study third and fourth quarter O&M projects amount of $143,125.
I will second that.
we've used a CAR form on this one, but we're going to get a different form so that we just have a list of these. But as we promised you last month, we're going to bring both the capital and operations or operating funds, O&M, I call it, funds for both of these reserve studies so the community understands each piece of the reserve study that we're dealing with, okay? So these are the ones for the third and fourth quarter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Comments from the floor? Any? Okay.
Steve McCauley, I've been a property owner for almost 13 years. I'm not against progress, okay? Bruce, I thank you for replying to a couple of my questions from the email.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
In my past career, I experienced in 3 multi-million-dollar projects with taxpayers' money. So I understand the concerns of our members. I'm concerned with the costs and effect to our membership. I think there's a lot of unknown how we're paying for this. We're planning on spending $70.5 million. If I'm wrong with any figures, let me know. That's a lot of money. I repeat, a lot of money. I'm concerned with the burden of our membership. Because if the projections are wrong, the burden is back to them and us. This is based on projections. That's what concerns me. We're spending $16 million on Druid Hills. I am in favor of doing something there. The driving range was $650,000. The performance center was $960,000. I'll trade that building for my house because my house is not worth that.
Just small correction, it was 950,000?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks. Then we have not heard anything about the emergency building. So all this money is a big question mark. In my experience, we never brought anything to the public without some real value of what it was going to cost. How we're going to pay for this is a transfer fee. $5,000 per property. I think that was per house. A person buying a house of $800,000, $5,000 is not a lot, it's a considerable amount. A person buying a house for $400,000. Now you remember, if somebody was buying a house for $400,000 and they're going to get a mortgage, let's say, and they're going to have to put 20% down, that's $80,000. They're paying $5,000, that's $85,000, and there is a new settlement of a court case that the real estate fees is now not to the burden of the seller. But let's say for the sake of negotiating 3%. 3% of $400,000 is $12,000, I do believe. So all of a sudden, a buyer has to come up with $100,000 to buy a $400,000 house. I would think that a transfer of less than $5,000, a graduated figure, might bring in some people that are going to turn away from us. Number two, the HOA dues. It's going to go up $4 to $8 a month by your projections. But what happens if we have a downturn of the amount of people moving into our community? A loan of, I think, $13 million. Is that rate going to float? What's the term of paying it back? If the interest rate goes up, the burden is on to the membership. The cost to build. Is there a contingency for cost overruns? Have you built in my experience, we had a 5% contingency fee. So if there is a cost overrun, that was part of it. Is that built in?
We do have a contingency, and again, if you'll come next month, I will go through that breakdown for you.
Any project with the public, I think the mayor would probably understand this, there is three things: what we want, what we need, and what we can afford. I'm concerned with the architect comment, this is what I would build. In my experience with architects, they love to build, and they love to have the price, because the fee paid to the architect is based upon, usually, how much the project's for. And it's usually a percentage.
I need to make a couple of comments there.
Okay.
First of all, the quote of "this is what I would build" is a bit out of context, because what he said was, and it was presented by one of the members of the committee, we built this around what the community told us they wanted. What his comment was had I done this on my own, I would have built it the same way. So he wasn't saying this is built the way I want it. He was saying that I concur with what the membership says they want in this building. He believed that was right. This is a man that has built 500 clubhouses. All he was doing was concurring that, yeah, y'all did this right. As far as, what was the other piece you just said? I'm sorry. The fee, we have a flat fee from him. We do not do percentages.
What is it?
I don't have that number in my head, but we had a flat fee for the concept drawings and in the car. David, what's the fee for the next piece of his work? $337,000 for the next piece. We don't do architectural engineering work by percentage of the cost of a project. We learned a long time ago just what you said, that if you do that, the project will grow based on the architect because he's getting a percentage and not a flat fee. So we do flat fees.
Okay, $300,000 for the next phase of 170-some thousand?
I'm going to stop this conversation here because what the board committed to yesterday at the workshop for July, we're going to show a breakdown of all the costs of Druid. We're going to show the pro forma on the food and beverage facility at Druid, and we're going to show a breakdown of the $70.5 million, both from the revenue side and the expense side. So what we're asking is we don't want to have a town hall here. Well, we're asking for those of you that are interested in seeing those breakdowns, please come to the July board workshop, which is held on the Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday of the month, and we're going to go through all of this. So rather than having Dave or Bruce or anybody else try to recall figures in their head, we'd much rather get this all out at one time and show you the whole thing, okay?
I just wish that that would have been done prior to voting on we're going to spend money, okay? My prior life, it wasn't done that way. My last comment is I feel that there is no one advocating for what effect on the membership is. And I'm not against progress. I'm not against that. But I think it's way over the top. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
Tom Ratcliffe. Couple of things. First of all, from yesterday's meeting, it didn't come up and it should have. And all the thank you to the food and beverage team as well as the participants from the golf side and so forth in helping develop the plan. So I thank them for their hard work as they put a lot of work into it. A couple of things. I appreciate the board's feedback from yesterday to me personally. A couple of suggestions that I'd ask the board to consider. First one, today we heard an example of you're going to post a policy for 30 days and let the members comment on it. What I'd ask on these major projects, as opposed to the kind of like what feels to me to be kind of hodgepodge, once all the facts are known, and I know you don't vote on the project, I have a different opinion on that, but once the project is quote unquote kind of ready to go, I'd ask you to put out the facts out there, have the members make comments for 30 days, review the comments, and then tell us publicly, okay, we're going to proceed, or we're going to make some changes, or so forth. Handle them like you do these other things, okay? I'd ask you to consider that. The second piece is in regards to a lot of the numbers and discussion, and I appreciate the board members today and some of the texture that was provided that frankly wasn't provided yesterday, so I appreciate you listening there. We have AV in this room, and I believe it would be helpful if, especially on the financial side, put the financial numbers up, if you would, and then show what you're talking about. So when Bruce is talking about different numbers on the balance sheet and so forth, put them out there so folks get an idea and education on how these statements are formatted, what they mean, and ultimately, it might, one, reduce the number of questions. Number two, provide an education forum for the members to maybe ask better questions of the board. So it's a request. And finally, just from the aspect of questions being asked to the board, I'd ask you as board members to think about one thing. How do we as members hold you accountable? Think about it. You're going to first probably come to mind and say, well, elections. I'll tell you right here, of you 7 members, I voted for 1 on your current terms. That's all, because of how we're structured. So you have to ask yourself the question then, how do we hold you accountable? Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I'm going to follow up on one question about the amenity reserve fee, because this came up with the realtor. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
My name is Jean Geib. I'm a 12-year resident. My question is on this property transfer fee. I did go through all the question and answers, and I didn't see it. So does it apply to all community club property owners?
Well, when you say that, that's a huge question, by the way.
Okay.
So if you came into the community after, what was it, 14? April 1st of 2014, you did pay an amenity reserve fee. If you were here prior to that, you did not.
Right.
Okay.
I understand that.
So those people that came in after April of 2014, when you sell your home and want to buy another home in the Glade,
Yes.
okay, you will not have to pay that fee if you do it within a year.
That's in the question
Okay.
and answer too.
Now,
I
if
got
it was
that.
prior to April of 2014, 13, I'm sorry,
13.
April of 2013, then yes, you will,
Okay.
because you
So-
didn't pay the fee to begin with.
Let me go a little further then, because I did read all that
Mm-hmm.
in the question and answers. What about the homes that are like the Prestonwood, I think that's what it's called, manufactured homes? Does that apply to them too?
Yes. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Wilshire mobile homes?
Yes.
It applies to them too?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, thank you. That's kind of where I was going. My next question, I wasn't quite sure how to word this. How and when will potential buyers learn of the fee? Is this something that real estate agents would mention up front? Is this something that is going to be in the closing documents? I'm just curious, especially since it went from 1,000 to 5,000.
Yes, it will be. It will be in the closing documents, and yes, the realtors are aware of it, and that's one of the reasons why we did the frequently asked questions, to help give them the information on how to talk to their customers.
So you don't really know if that's something that's going to be told to a potential buyer, like up front?
Certainly, we tell them,
Yeah.
okay?
You tell them? When do you tell them?
Well, when they get all their closing documents, we
Closing
provide all that
documents.
information.
But if somebody is coming here
We would tell them that.
and they're visiting
Yeah.
and they stop at Fairfield Glade Homes and they go out on tours, they're probably not going to learn
I
about this?
can't control what individual realtors do.
Okay,
Okay,
so
I can tell you
it's
the
gonna be up
information's
to the-
available.
Yeah.
and that we will make it available, but I can't tell you that every Realtor that's gonna go out with a customer is gonna tell them every fee they got to
Okay,
pay.
that's what I was looking for. I'm just kind of assuming it's going to be in the closing documents. Thank you.
Go on.
Right.
Come on up so everybody can hear you.
To answer that question, a mortgage originator has to do an estimate of closing
Yes.
costs. And so they've got to understand that. So when somebody has put a bid on a house and applies for a mortgage, unless somebody pays cash, they won't know about it until.
Well, as soon as there's a contract, then a lot of other things start happening automatically, but I think your question was more before the contract, and that we have no control over what a Realtor's gonna say. Now, I do want to mention one other thing with the amenity reserve fee, because you brought it up and the Realtors did too. We looked at a graduated charge based on the value of the home, but an amenity reserve fee can only be used for amenities. It cannot be used for anything else. Therefore, amenities are common. For instance, I don't pay any more for a round of golf than somebody that owns a home that's worth twice mine or half of mine. We all pay the same fee because the amenity is a common amenity that everyone can use and has the right to use, and there's pricing based on your membership, not the value of your home or anything else. And what's been found in other jurisdictions, I'm not saying here in Tennessee, it's not law here, but in other jurisdictions, those have been found if you start tying them to other characteristics, like the value of a home, as being seen as discriminatory. Because they're common. And that would get us into saying, well, Bruce's home is worth $100,000, so he only has to pay $15 for golf. Mine's worth $400,000, I'm gonna pay $50 for golf. And Bruce has got the big one on the hill for $1 million, he's gonna pay $150 for golf. We don't do that. And it would be a terrible thing for this community to try to do that. So we did talk about that, we did tell the Realtors that. I think many of them understood it, but we're not gonna get ourselves in a position where these fees could be looked at and we get into a whole lot of legal battles either, okay? All right, now, with that, follow up on the May board meeting. I looked at all the minutes. There was one question for Bruce Evans that was brought up in the workshop, but since he wasn't here, I didn't think it was fair to try to ask him to answer it. So we'll have that one for next month. And Bruce, do you want to talk about, the lot merger policy?
Yes, and it is posted. The update to the lot merger policy is on the website now, and it'll be there until the July board meeting, and we'll address any comments that you have on that. But it is on the website under policies for comments. And it's just some changes updated to the lot merger policy. And it's a lot of it's regarding sewer systems and septic systems, pardon me. Yep.
Keith, come on up.
Keith Robinson again. Again, I want to ask, can you give just a basic rundown on what the policy changes and, more importantly, the need for it? Because I know when you post the policy changes, the changes are there and everybody can read them, but why were they made? You know, what's the need for it? And
yeah, well, it's
that kind of thing. Thank you.
It's like everything else. The policy is several pages, and I don't have I can pull it up and read the whole thing, but it'd bore all of us. It relates primarily to septic systems and availability of merging a lot if you have a lot across the road because you can't have the septic system on your adjacent lot, but you want to merge the lots. Well, if you merge them, you can't unmerge the lot because it's across the street. So there's wording to accommodate those kinds of things when sewer came in and is available to you on your home or on your property, and you say, I don't need my sewer system or septic system anymore, I want to go merge my lots for, and tied to the sewer system. It's wording to correct or clear up those ambiguities and make sure you can do what you want to do. It's just updating the policy. I mean, I'll send it to you directly. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want to not waste everybody's time, but if you're interested, audience, I'll read every word of it for you. Okay. But it is out there, and it's out there for the next 30 days.
Any other comments from board members?
No.
I'm going to make one more commercial. And this came up yesterday in the workshop, and I'm going to say it again today. And I brought it up last month after the town halls. We have these town halls to get in conversations like we're having today. We encourage you to show up. That's really the appropriate place to have a lot of these things discussed. If you've got questions, that's really where we want you to come and ask your questions. We will either answer them there, or we'll get you an answer as soon as we can. You know, we had the 10-year capital conversation, and that was a $70.5 million conversation with the community. We had 88 people in the room, and we had about another, it's probably gone up now because people have been watching it, but as of that date, we had about 188 people that watched it. We have the meetings so that the membership can, in fact, interact with the board and get your questions answered. But if you don't come, there's little we can do to answer your questions unless we start doing all of this again. And there comes a point where you really have to say, Druid's a good example. We have talked about Druid for 2.5 years. We've had multiple town halls. I can't even tell you the amount of hours that the Food and Beverage and Golf Committee and the Steering Committee have spent on that project. We've had presentations in these meetings. We've had a update just every month at the board meetings and in this meeting and in the workshop. So part of the responsibility, Tom, you talk about holding us accountable. I have no problem with that. But the membership is accountable for attending and interacting with the board to talk about the things that are important to them. And I take that seriously. Someday I'm going to be off of this board, and I'm going to be out there with everybody else, and I'm going to attend. And those of you that really want to get involved, I encourage you to get involved. You know, we had 7 people apply for membership in the board, and that's great. I look forward to the time when maybe have 10, 15 of people that really are interested in doing that. I look forward to the time when we have committee meetings like the Financial Advisory Committee, like the MCPC, like even the Environmental Committee, any of our committees, where we have so many people that want to be on those committees that we have to really sift through who's the best members are. So, fine, Tom, we'll be accountable. But the membership has to participate. And we have multiple venues for that. And if you want to know where you can get involved, you can talk to any one of the people up here. We'd be more than happy to tell you. And we'd also be able, I'm sure that any chairman of a committee would be happy to tell you. So I encourage everyone, when we have town halls, when we have meetings, please get involved. Okay? I know I'm done preaching now for a while. It's not even Sunday. All right. Any other questions or comments? If not?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good to see you.
See you again.